ask all in the courtroom, that obviously this is an emotional time for everybody, including the jurors, so I would ask that no one respond and no outbursts when the jury's verdict is read. All right, to my understanding is the jurors reached a verdict. I just see Mr. Lager has the verdict form, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
All right, would you give that form to the bailiff, please? Okay, I'd ask all pay attention as I read the verdict in this matter. State of Wisconsin versus Brian T. Flatoff, case number 15 CF 589. This is the verdict, count 1. We, the jury, find the defendant Brian T. Flatoff guilty of possession of firearm by a felon as charged in count 1 of the information. Count 2, we, the jury, find the defendant Brian T. Flatoff guilty of attempted first-degree intentional homicide of Greg Hoffer as charged in count 2 of the information. Count 3, we, the jury, find the defendant Brian T. Flatoff guilty of attempted first-degree intentional homicide of Jonathan Kufel as charged in count 3 of the information. Count 4, we, the jury, find the defendant Brian T. Flatoff guilty of conspiracy to commit first-degree intentional homicide of Vance Dalton as charged in count 4 of the information. Count 5, we, the jury, find the defendant Brian T. Flatoff guilty of taking hostage of Ryan Motterson as charged in count 5 of the information. Count 6, we, the jury, find the defendant Brian T. Flatoff guilty of false imprisonment of Michael Peterson as charged in count 6 of the information. Count 7, we, the jury, find the defendant Brian T. Flatoff guilty of felony murder of Michael Funk as charged in count 7 of the information. Count 8, we, the jury, find the defendant Brian T. Flatoff guilty of failure to comply with officer's attempt to take person into custody as charged in count 8 of the information. Count 9, we, the jury, find the defendant Brian T. Flatoff guilty of felony bail jumping, to wit, committed the crime of felon in possession of a firearm as charged in count 9 of the information. Count 10, we, the jury, find the defendant Brian T. Flatoff guilty of felony bail jumping, to wit, failed to maintain absolute sobriety, as charged in count 10 of the information. Count 11, we, the jury, find the defendant Brian T. Flatoff guilty of felony bail jumping, to wit, committed a crime of attempted first-degree homicide, as charged in count 11 of the information. Count 12, we, the jury, find the defendant Brian T. Flatoff guilty of felony bail jumping, to wit, committed the crime of taking hostage, as charged in count 12 of the information. Count 13, we, the jury, find the defendant Brian T. Flatoff guilty of felony bail jumping, to wit, committed a crime of false imprisonment, as charged in count 13 of the information. Count 14, we, the jury, find the defendant Brian T. Flatoff guilty of felony bail jumping, to wit, committed the crime of failure to comply with officer's attempt to take person into custody as charged in count 14 of the information. Dated on Oshkosh, Wisconsin, this 9th day of March, signed Michael Lager as foreperson of this jury. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, if this is your verdict, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
If not, say nay. Mr. Slodgy, are you asking the jurors be polled? All right, as I told you on Monday, there is a bifurcated plea in this case, not guilty and not guilty by mental disease or defect. We will return on Monday and the trial will continue. During the second phase, you'll be asked to determine whether the defendant is responsible for his criminal conduct. Wisconsin law provides that a person is not responsible for criminal conduct if, at the time it was committed, the person had a mental disease or defect and as a result lacks substantial capacity either to appreciate the wrongfulness of the conduct or to conform their conduct to the requirements of law. I left my instructions in the office, but I think we all have that memorized by now. So when you go home this weekend, please put this aside. Don't think about it. Don't review any reports. Don't watch the news. Don't talk to family members. When this case is over, you're allowed to speak to whomever in whatever manner you want. But again, this case has to be decided by you, by only the information that you learn in this courtroom. And so, go home this weekend and relax and be rested, and we'll see you Monday morning again at 8:15, and we'll meet you'll meet the bailiffs Monday morning at 8:15 outside of room 60.
All right.